define, what exactly is intellectual property?
Intellectual property is a fabulous advantage to business. In its essence, it's the grant of an exclusive right to an innovation. For example, the iPhone currently requires 200 patents to make it function. There are lots of different aspects of intellectual property, but patents are a key one. There's also registered designs and trade names and what have you. Patents describe the nuts and bolts of how a new innovation works. Now, in order to get a patent granted, you have to meet some incredibly strict criteria. First of all, what you're doing has to be brand new. It must not have been published anywhere in the world by anybody. If you make a mistake in the development and actually share the idea with somebody outside formal confidentiality, you can't have a patent because you have effectively published it. There's a fellow called Edward de Bono, who is generally reckoned to be the father of understanding of how we innovate. He describes a completely different way of thinking. The ordinary way of thinking is to build vertically. You put a brick there, you put another brick on top, and up you go towards your goal. He says, no. You first describe your goal way up in the clouds. You paint the perfect picture of what it is that you're aiming for. And then you build the staircase back to earth to support it. It's so much easier. You have no constraints at all in your thinking. It can be lateral, which is the way he describes his thinking. My children describe it as a brain fart, and in some respects, maybe they're right. It's a spark of a sideways leap out of the ordinary. But if you happen to leap sideways onto one of these fabulous things that is brand new, and the whole world wants the product that it drives, then you have done some great things for yourself. But if your purpose and your patent is around improving hygiene in hospitals, then you've done a great thing for the world, and that was our goal.
So in summary, what happened with this corporation?
The development path for innovation is incredibly long and terribly expensive. So we had to use one of the peripheral applications of our rights to generate income, to fund us forward, to complete the work for the hospital benefit. We met with them. We made them an offer. This was up in the Swiss Alps. Made them an offer. A day later, their CEO and CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, came back saying, we think it's fantastic. We want it. But we don't just want European exclusivity that you offered us. We also want American exclusivity, and we want the world exclusivity. And so we said, well, so long as you're going to actually market the product, that's great. It's yours. A year later, they cut their commitment in half. 2 years after that, they cut it completely. Nothing. And then they threatened us. If you dare tell a soul what we've done to you, we will beat you with an even bigger stick.
So it wasn't only a corporate mugging, it was also intimidation.
Mugging with violence threatened, yes.
Okay, well, let's get back to the product and now talk us through the development process.
The original spark that gave us the idea that there may be an opportunity for a new innovation came to me years and years ago. I was sitting on a train as a small boy going to school, and I noticed that the man sitting across the carriage from me was, every time he wanted to turn the page in his newspaper, he was having to lick his fingers. I thought, well, that shouldn't be necessary. There's something missing. The hand should be working better. There's nothing wrong with his dexterity. It's brilliant. But there's something missing. There's an opportunity to put something in that gap that makes things work for him. And of course, later in life, I realized that a myriad of different things, whatever we drive with our hands, is we actually give up the brilliance of our dexterity to simply gripping the thing that we're driving. But that means that the brilliance of dexterity is seized simply in a dumb gripping operation, whereas if you didn't have to grip, your hand could do what it does normally, which is to meet address every contour, whatever the dimension. The brain, eye, and hand, well, this is the tool of the brain. The eye sees, the hand meets the contours automatically, unless the hand is given over to gripping, in which case it is a dumb operation. So we perceived that there was an opportunity to create an interface between the hand and the work that's being done. And it would need to be extraordinary. We met with various of the huge multinationals, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Reckitt Benckiser. They all said to us, if you're going to be successful with this, it has to be a single form, one form that works for every size of hand, whether it's male, female, young, old, big or small. And it has to be ambidextrous. And so we set about trying to create a solution. I'm working here with one of the most brilliant teams of design engineers and innovators, a company called London Associates. They are simply the best in the UK. Brilliant people, tremendously able. And we sat and we tried to work out, how on earth do you pull this off? How do you do this thing? And we looked at hands, and we looked at tiny hands and big hands, but eventually the penny dropped. The answer isn't the hand. The solution lies in the space around the hand. That is where a common denominator can exist. We identified that these three spaces are the common denominator. If you focus on them, you can create a form that is completely adaptable to all hand sizes. And so that was the path that we set off on.
Excellent. But what's your ultimate purpose?
The ultimate purpose is to deliver advantage to hospitals and patients. There was a challenge some years back. Can you come up with something that will assist in reducing the costs in hospitals, but also promoting elevation of hygiene? And so our first purpose is to achieve improvement of hygiene in hospitals, making them safer for everybody. The second purpose is to reward our extraordinary, brilliant production partners. They have beaten all manner of technical difficulties in delivering this answer. Third is to have this giant do what it should have done in the first place, which is to honour the contract that it agreed with us.
You haven't named the giant, and you haven't named your company. Why is that?
Our lawyers have advised us to be very cautious. The giant he really is huge. He's one of the world's biggest. And he's threatened us with a big stick if we tell anybody about it. So the lawyers have said the best approach is for your company not to be named. And you must avoid at all costs naming the giant. Although actually, of course, ultimately we have decided that we will, because they are standing in the way of benefit to the world, and that shouldn't ever be allowed to happen.
In the next episode, then, you're going to be laying bare the story of this.
We're going to give you chapter and verse. We're going to share what is actually the most extraordinary story. What we're looking at is complete loss of all of it. Yeah, devastating. I was in shock. I never imagined that such an illustrious organisation would behave in such an appalling fashion. They are effectively denying all of our innovation for the benefit of patients and hospitals around the world. Beyond appalling. They're a law unto themselves. These people might as well be running a protection racket in turn-of-the-century Brooklyn.
You haven't named the giant. Why is that?
They are so huge, a small organisation simply cannot take them to court, and they know it.
I think it's time we told people who it is. Who is it?